Do you like characters? Do you like lore? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Honkai Star Rail has no personality in their characters. That's the most depressing thing about this game. You can pull immediately for any character you want, but guess what? They're not a character. They're a set of skills and oaths because none of them have any form of personality. Oh, what is the personality? Are you going to point to Silverwolf being a gamer? Well, I'd like to tell you that doesn't count. You can't have one trait and call that a character. There is no deeper story. Can you, any of you, legitimately inform me as to why she is the way she is? Oh, you have character stories? Oh, whoop-de-doo. What do any of these tell you? I'm sorry, I didn't know that your name's description should just be your screen name and nothing else. And oh, are you going to point to these wonderful text conversations as character development? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were reading a fan fiction. Obviously, this all counts. No, it doesn't. In a game where there's actual quests or actual events, why is my characterization of an entire unit limited to after I've met them in the story? The most I know about Zilla is that she likes to fight. I don't care about this. Oh, her name was given to her? Okay, cool. What else? Everything I've learned about Yanjing is that he's never met his his actual parents, and his adopted parent is Jing Yuan, and he likes swords. Wow, what a character. What great development. My god, this is truly an amazing unit. And oh, if you're looking at the current banners and you're like, whoa, Silverwolf and Jing Yuan just had theirs, so they're obviously going to get character development much later on in the next patch. I'm sorry, did anyone realize that this character actually was supposed to have a personality instead of just the fanfiction and shipping between her and Bronya because people really just like to do that in general? No? Can you tell me a single thing about her other than that she's a fighter and grew up at an orphanage? No? Okay, well, what about the base characters? Natasha? What about Asta? She's wealthy and hardworking? Okay, cool, that's two things you've named. Wealthy isn't really a personality trait, but we'll count that. And I am not counting this little story section as development because this is just text on a screen. Once again, a fanfiction can do it better. Honestly, I want to see legitimate character development or a legitimate character expression in game. What do these voice lines tell you? I'm sorry, let's go back to Zealand. What do these combat lines tell you? Do any of these legitimately tell you a single thing about this character? No. What about the ult line? Oh, time for swordplay? Oh yes, that sounds like a sex thing. That's all I'm gonna say about that. It just does every time I hear it. See, if you simp for Silverwolf, then I know you legitimately want more of this character in screen. But at most, we haven't. Did you just phase out of a lady? Did you just walk through a wall? Okay then. These events have given legitimately nothing for her character. Aside from her just knowing Kafka, that's legitimately it. And what is Kafka's character other than being that half of you want to fuck her? What is that? That's not a trait. She sounds tired 24/7 and I think she's trying to pull off a hot voice, but it really isn't working. She's discount Yolanda with a red tint. What is her trait? What is she? Who is she? No, she is not just, I can't just call a character good based on the fact that 80 to 70% of the fan base with no taste want to fuck her. That's not a legitimate personality. That's literally just you being horny at that point. What do the Eidolon's descriptions tell you? Oh yes, that's right, fuck all. Do traces have any legitimate meaning to their names? No. Do you unlock additional voice lines as you ascend? Not in the slightest. Honkai Star Rail is a very, very pretty looking game, but there is no personality whatsoever when you actually get into the characters. And if you're gonna say, oh well, wait a minute, this was in Genshin Impact, let's compare that to the better version of Kafka, Yelan. Outside of her actually having an immense more amount of text on screen, if you're looking at her dialogue options, even outside of the general combat options, what, you know. You actually technically see her multiple times in this story. First off, you see her when the chasm initially unlocks. Then, during the second actual event, which was an event, and then subsequently just became a normal quest with Ito and Kuki Shinobu, you meet her and Yanfei again. And then subsequently, if we're going down that wonderful rope of character quests, she actually had one featured here. I already completed it. The fun fact about Genshin is, whenever a character has a banner like Alhaitham, or like Kazuha, it means one of two things. Either A, they're going to be featured in an event, or B, They're getting another story quest. Yoimiya got another rerun, and guess what she got? A story quest. But she's usually in every Inazuma event. Hytham had his initial banner, was released with an entire story quest, alongside his inclusion in the main story quest, alongside his inclusion in events since then. But if you're someone who doesn't like to read any of this, who doesn't like to read the constellation names, or any of these lines here, you can legitimately just listen to the voice lines, and excusing the whole number of them and the fact that there is so much more just of the about this character here. Mind you, you don't have to come in here and listen to these. Anytime the character reaches another friendship level, they tell you about this. And the fact that they have so many more just in relation to a bunch of other characters, especially ones they have a specifically high standing with. And then the anything to share tab, just in general, Genshin has much more characterization and effort put into telling you a legitimate story about one unit. But you may say, well, Yolanda's an older character. What about a new one? Okay, Kiara. She was featured in Yoimiya's second story quest. She was featured in the event during the time she came out in. She still has a bunch of storylines. She still has a bunch of voiceover work, a bunch about her, a lot just in correlation to other units and some units who aren't even released. You still have the about Kiara lines, and subsequently everything else. You still have the names of her constellations, the names of her kids. So even then, she's been featured in the event that she appears in. You learn a little bit about her then. She's been featured in Yoimiya's story quest, either one of which could have served as your introduction to the unit themselves. She's most likely going to be one of the more recent units to get a hangout. Kaveh was introduced last patch and has a hangout. He was on last banner, I believe, with Baiju, and he has a hangout with multiple endings. Because for those of you who don't do the hangouts, these hangouts have multiple options, multiple endings, multiple decisions you can make throughout them. And just for a full scale of reference, this is all the decisions and outcomes for the hangout of one character, excluding any event seclusion. So yeah, Genshin has far better characterization, and that's going to be a big issue for a lot of people who legitimately want to learn more, because if you're used to Blue Archive or any game that actually puts decent effort into telling you something about a unit, Honkai Star Rail thus far has been pretty damn disappointing. I have Silverwolf. I don't know anything about her other than that she's a gamer. Why is she a gamer? Why does she associate with Kafka? Why does she just try to, fuck with her to ship? Because it's fun. That's not a character. That's not a valid reason. That doesn't tell me shit. But hey, I'm 90% sure the Sims probably clicked off the video. And the 10% probably just like hearing me rant. So if you do, subscribe. But that's fucking it. I'll see you next time.